I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Caroline County Planning Commission for April 27th, 2023 to order. By way of introductions, to my far left is Mr. J.D. Young, representing the Reedy Church District. To my immediate left is Dr. Carol Horton, representing Port Royal. I am Bob Schwartz, representing the Bowling Green District. To my right is Mr. Purcell Minor, representing Mattaponi District. To his right is Mr. George Weber, representing Madison. And on the far end is Mr. Richard Williams, representing Western Carolina. By way of administration tonight, we have Mr. Craig Pennington, who is the planner. To his left is Mr. Leon Hughes, who is the zoning administrator. We also have Mr. Mike Fincham, the director. And I want to recognize Mr. John Voigt, our sound and sight technician, without whom we would not be broadcasting to the general public. I would invite everyone to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first item of business will be the approval of the minutes from our regular meeting, which was held on Thursday, August the 25th, 2023. Commissioners, have you had a chance to review the minutes? Are there any additions or corrections? If,
Make a motion, please.
yes, sir.
I'd like to approve the minutes for August 25th, 2022 to September 22nd, 2022, and October 23, 2022.
I believe we have to do them individually.
Okay. August 25th, 2022.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Minor, seconded by Mr. Weber to approve the minutes of August 25th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. We next have the minutes from the Thursday meeting of September 22nd, 2022. Commissioners, are there any additions or corrections?
I'd like to make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Minor,
Approve the minutes for September 22nd, 2022.
Second.
seconded by Mr. Weber and Mr. Young. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries. Minutes for October 27th, 2022. Commissioners, are there any additions or corrections? Hearing none, is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion. Approve the minutes of October 23rd, 2022.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Minor to approve, seconded by Mr. Weber and Mr. Young. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries. The minutes are approved. Next item will be a public hearing. I'll ask, nope. I'm sorry. Wrong list. Subdivisions. Item 3A, SB 02-2023, Pendleton Land Development Owner, Tricord Inc. applicant.
Sorry, I got it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first subdivision tonight, SB 02-2023 for Pendleton Subdivision, Pendleton Section 12 Preliminary Plat. The applicant's requesting preliminary plat approval for Section 12 of the Pendleton Subdivision. Pendleton Subdivision was approved in entirety in 2006 by the Caroline Board of Supervisors. Section 12 is the next platted section for construction. Staff feels that the plat meets the requirements of the Caroline County Subdivision and zoning ordinances and recommends approval at this time.
Thank you, sir. Does the applicant wish to speak? No? No? Commissioners, do you have any questions of the staff? There being no questions, is there a motion?
Yes, sir, I'll make a motion. I have all my papers over here. Um, Where is the plat submit? The plat submitted appears to meet the zoning and subdivision ordinance. I recommend that SB 02 2023 be forwarded to the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation of approval.
Second.
There is a motion by Mr. Weaver, seconded by Mr. Young, to forward this to the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation of approval. Is there any discussion? There being no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries. SB 03 2023, Star Management Corporation owner applicant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant's requesting preliminary and final plat approval for a subdivision within the Ladysmith Industrial Park. Ladysmith Industrial Park is an existing subdivision with commercial and industrial lots. Some lots were created with the intention of selling the lot to an individual owner for construction, while a portion of the industrial park was left as one parcel owned by Star Management with multiple tenant buildings for lease. This subdivision is to create a lot around the stormwater management facility that is currently existing. Star Management would like to sell a block of the tenant structures that currently exist in the Ladysmith Industrial Park. However, would like to retain ownership of the stormwater management facility as the facility serves the entire industrial park, parts of which are still owned by Star Management. Staff feels that the requirements have been addressed and recommends approval at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Pennington. Commissioners, do you have any questions of staff? There being no questions? I'm sorry, Mr. Minor, did you?
No, I said no.
Oh, okay, thank you. All right, is there a motion?
Make a motion. Whereas the plat submitted appears to meet the requirements of the zoning and subdivision ordinance, I recommend that SB 032023 be forwarded to the Board of Supervisors for approval.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Young, seconded by Mr. Weaver, to forward this to the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation of approval. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries. We will now have a public hearing on text 102023. Yes, please, Mr. Pennington, the protocol.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The purpose of the public hearing is for the Caroline County Planning Commission to listen carefully to the verbal expression and position and opinion from the citizens of Caroline County. Public hearings are not question and answer sessions or debates, and all statements should be addressed to the chair. When members of the public offer comment, they need to clearly state their name and voting district prior to making their comments. Applicants or representatives of the applicant will be allowed 15 minutes to introduce information regarding the matter advertised for public hearing. All comments are to be pertinent to the issue being considered. Persons speaking at public hearings are respectfully requested to keep comments brief, not to exceed 3 minutes, and to address only those issues pertinent to the matters advertised for the public hearing. After the public hearing has been closed, the applicant or representatives of the applicant will be allowed 10 minutes to address any issues identified by the public.
Thank you, Mr. Pennington. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this matter? I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, just kind of a brief overview of the proposed text amendment.
Yes, sir.
We did have a work session on this earlier, so we got to discuss it a little bit. The proposed TXT 10/2023 is a text amendment that would add a new zoning district to our zoning regulations within the planned development districts. Okay. And it would create an innovation, research, and technology park district. The purpose of this district is to focus on technology types of uses in industries and kind of separate those uses from other industrial and commercial districts, such as the M1, which is the predominant zoning, industrial zoning in the county, or the planned industrial park. And the idea is to create standards for this type of district within the plan, again, the planned development district, setbacks, buffering, protecting environmentally sensitive areas in a planned, coordinated type of development versus the piecemeal type of development that we typically see with the M1 zoning district. This district, I think, would give the commission and the board better management of these technology or developments, including the data centers, than we have currently in our M1 zoning district regulations. The other benefit of this district would be, as I said, it will allow you to focus on these types of industries and other industries that might not be appropriate or compatible with your technology types of uses are not included in this district. That's one of the issues that we typically grapple with when we get a development application, is what uses are appropriate for the site on which you are looking at the rezoning application. Most of our districts have a large number of uses. For example, the B1 district has everything from an antique store to a truck stop. Because of that, we have to rely on the proper discussions to limit uses to the particular parcel of land that you're looking at during the zoning process. We've tried to take a lot of those uses out of that might otherwise be incompatible with your technology uses out of this district. This would be one of 3 industrial districts that some of these technology uses would be allowed in. They're already allowed in the M1 zoning district. They're already allowed in the planned industrial park district, but they are allowed in those districts with a bunch of other uses. This district would simply focus on the technology types of uses and eliminate a lot of the other extraneous uses that we often find ourselves working to proffer out of a project. That's it in a nutshell.
Thank you, sir. Staff, any questions? Staff? Thank you. Is there anyone wishing to speak regarding this matter? Text 102023. Please come forward.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Basine Williams, Reed Church District, and my comment is in the form of a question. This Division 7, if a person had a large amount of acreage and the whole amount of acreage was approved for zoning in Division 7, would that person be able to put every item that's in Section 2 on your paper in that zoning area?
Ma'am, unfortunately, this is not a question and answer period.
I understand,
okay?
but that's my concern, is if this comes into play, that person, if say they have a couple hundred acres, they may want a technology facility, but this, as I'm reading it, says that it would be able to put labs in it, EMS station, restaurants, colleges, universities. And if that's so, do we need to take this and possibly break it down into a zoning like 7A, 7B, 7C, that kind of thing? That's what I'm worried about, that it's a very broad item for just one zoning district. Okay?
I'll break with the standard for just a moment and suggest that you contact the planning department directly with those concerns so that they may be taken into consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak regarding this matter? Anyone else wishing to speak regarding this matter? Final call. Anyone else wishing to speak on this matter? Seeing no one come forward, the public hearing is closed. Yes, sir, Mr. Fincham.
I'm here to answer any questions you may have. If you would like to redirect the question, I'd be more than happy to answer it for the commission.
If you are prepared to answer that, I'm certain that the lady would appreciate an answer.
Okay. In any zoning district, you have a list of uses that are permitted, what we call by right, which means once you have the zoning, you can come in and do those uses. Same thing applies for special exception uses. Most districts have a list of uses that are allowed by special exception, subject to Board of Supervisors approval. On properties that have, for example, the B1 or M1 zoning without any proffers, without any limitations on those uses, then any use that's listed as a by right use, B1, M1, rural preservation, whatever, has the benefit of doing any of those uses by right, simply with zoning approval from the planning office. Your unconditional zonings, M1, B1, usually are tied to zonings that were approved early in the planning and zoning history of Caroline County, up to, say, prior to 1990, 1992. Your more recent zonings usually have what are called proffers associated with them. And then during that process is when we try to narrow down the list of uses that the applicant is going to use the property for. So that list of, say, 30 uses may get narrowed down to 10 uses, as an example, by the time it gets to the board and gets approval from the board. Identifying uses as, the broad list of uses and trying to narrow that down is negotiated on a case-by-case basis. So we look at the property, we look at its location, we look at the size of it. Does it have a lot of environmental features? Maybe it's a 100-acre parcel, but there's only 20 acres of usable land when all is said and done. All that goes into staff's analysis of the rezoning application and our discussions to try to narrow down the uses on that property. In theory, if uses are not proffered out, then yes, all those uses in theory could be built on a piece of property. But I would suggest that in most cases today, a lot of those uses are negotiated out during the zoning process.
Thank you, Mr. Fincham. I hope that answers some unanswered questions.
And I'll be more than happy to discuss that.
Thank you, sir. What, fellow commissioners, we just got this very recent, and I'll be honest with you, I have not had adequate time to really delve into it to the degree that I would like. I think that there are also some unanswered architectural questions, which fortunately we do have a very experienced architect sitting on this commission. We have talented people on this commission in other areas as well. And I really am uncomfortable in sending this forward to the Board of Supervisors at this point in time. I really would like to have a little bit more time to iron out some of the details. And with,
Okay, can I make a comment before we
yes,
get
ma'am.
to the motion part? Just, and Mr. Fincham can correct me if I'm wrong, but what we have is we have a planned development district. Most of it's on the western side of the county, but we have a plan. And what we're actually trying to do is actually narrow it down more than what it is right now. And so we won't have a, say a community college wanted to come in. Well, it's not appropriate to have them right beside a truck stop. So what we're trying to do actually, and right now in some places that could possibly happen, we're trying to separate it out. So those technology things, like a community college or a data center or something like that, would be separated out in a separate area from where we have truck stops or major industry. So actually we're breaking it down more by doing this, correct?
Yes, I think it's a good way to look at it. One, we're giving you one more tool for industrial development, this one geared towards technology. At the same time, as part of the comprehensive planning process, okay, and I'll use the example from the last meeting. Either through economic development initiatives or as part of our department's planning efforts, potential sites are identified for commercial, industrial, residential development. Now we're focusing on these technology uses. Any zoning in certain areas, certain properties within our growth areas are already designated for industrial uses, okay? But as we saw last month, there are properties outside of our growth areas where you may see an application for development. Part of that process was to, one, identify whether we wanted to include that in our growth areas. And the Planning Commission recommended not to do that, okay? And that goes to the board for their consideration. In most cases that I think you're going to see, at least part of the properties in question are going to require a comprehensive plan amendment because they are not located entirely within a growth area for one reason or another. This district is tuned more towards the technology uses than our other industrial districts, which zoning to those districts could bring other uses that are either not necessarily compatible with the technology uses, or you run the risk of introducing those uses into areas that you may not want them to go if a project gets approved.
Yeah. So basically what we're trying to do here is, as we move forward, and this would have to be part of the comprehensive plan, correct? Yeah.
The zoning itself would have to be consistent with the comprehensive plan,
Yeah.
just like an M1 zoning, you know.
Yeah. So there's
It-
more steps to
Yes.
come on this, but we're starting the ball rolling here. So we're saying that we're going to start trying to say technology, like, you know, college campuses, high technology kind of type, will be more separated out from, say, truck stops,
Yes,
major noisy industry,
yes, to try to protect the
instead of having a
integrity of-
hodgepodge.
Right. So, the other point, this zoning text amendment does not zone a single piece of property in Caroline County at all. This is simply a text amendment to create a district. To zone a piece of property to this district or any other zoning district from what it currently is would require a zoning application, a rezoning application that goes through the planning commission and the board of supervisors.
So the applicant still comes in
An
and makes
applicant,
application.
correct. The creation of this district does not zone any land in Caroline County in and of itself.
So theoretically, you may never get a rezoning application for the district. I mean, that's probably far-fetched, but a possibility.
Correct.
And it would sort of maybe steer like industry for coming in and saying, hey, I want to turn this farmland into a college campus. But rather they would see that we had a place where we want that type of technology, rather than going out 6 miles away from I-95 and saying, I want to put it here. They would already know our comprehensive plan says the technology district is over here. I mean, they could still apply, but
Correct.
you know, it's a guideline, is what
Right.
it is.
The purpose of the comp plan is to guide
Guide people.
development in the county. It's a blueprint for the future development of the county. That's why we created the growth areas years ago, was to encourage and promote development into those areas. It's where the board made its commitment to provide public utilities so that those areas could serve their function as a growth area. And every so often, either the county looks at updating the comprehensive plan, or an applicant can ask the county to look at that same amendment.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir, Mr. Weaver.
I think there's a lot of vagueness still in this proposal. And I would ask that we defer this until our next regular scheduled meeting. Because again, there are too many unanswered questions, and not that staff hasn't tried to give us all the answers they can. But I know in my own mind, I'm like looking, go, well, what about this and what about that? So I would ask that we defer this at this time until our next regular scheduled meeting.
So whereas general welfare and good zoning practices warrants, you move to defer TXT 102023 to the next meeting for further discussion?
Yes, sir.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Weaver, seconded by Dick Carroll Horton. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries to defer to our next meeting. Thank you, Mr. Fincham.
Thank you.
Any and all matters? There being no any or all matters, is there a motion to adjourn to the May 25th, 2023 meeting?
I'd make a motion that we adjourn to.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Minor, seconded by Mr. Young. Any discussion? There being no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Motion is adjourned. Meeting is adjourned. I'm sorry. Thank you. Have a good evening.